Today in the Battle of the Squares, we have the low-priced iGaging. Can it hold its own against the premium Starrett with its premium price? Let's find out. Let's talk about why I'm doing a comparison. I've had a 6-inch combination square for a number of years now that I use for marking, and I enjoy it quite a bit. It's one of my most used tools. Around 2 years ago, I decided to check it for square and saw that it was out of square by about 20 thousandths of an inch. I also, at that time, bought a machinist square, but I never checked it for square until the beginning of this year. When I checked it for square, I saw that it was out of square around 8 or 9 thousandths of an inch. This is significantly more than it was rated for, which kind of bummed me out. I wanted to get a square that could be used both for marking and as a reference square, and in looking at reviews, I saw that the iGaging had really good reviews for the money. So I bought the 4-inch version as well as the 6-inch version, and I got the double square so that I could use it for tool setup as well. Shortly after, I bought the Starrett, mostly because I really like Starrett tools. I have a number of them at work that I use in my lab pretty much every single day, and I really trust them. And I wanted something good in the lab. So, now that I've had them for a couple of months, let's do a comparison.
Fight!
First, we need to address the elephant in the room, which is price. The Starrett is expensive. At time of filming, it cost $82, with the iGaging coming in at $18. That is a very large difference. And for this round, I'm going to have to give it to the iGaging for the price.
1.
Now, I want to talk about the physical dimensions of the square. For the weight, the Starrett comes in at 73.5 grams, and the iGaging comes in at 124 grams. I don't know which one to give the point to on this one. I personally like the light weight of the Starrett because I like to keep it in my pocket or with me, but a little bit more heft on the iGaging might be nice. So I'm going to call this one a draw because I think this one is up to personal preference.
1.
Next, we're going to look at the length of the blades. Nominally, they should both be 4 inches. We're looking at 4-inch squares. The Starrett came in at just over half a thousandths long. On the other hand, the iGaging came in at 5 thousandths shy of 4 inches. Also, if I measured it in different places, I got different readings. So I don't think that the edge is super square to the length of the blade. I'm going to give this one to Starrett.
1.
Now we want to look at the base of the squares. The Starrett comes in at 2 1/4 inches long, whereas the iGaging comes in at around 2.5 inches. The iGaging being a little bit longer means that you can reference a little bit more stably, so I'm going to give this one to the iGaging. But at the same time, you may prefer the smaller size of the Starrett.
2. 1.
Last up in the physical dimensions is the width of the blades. The Starrett comes in at 0.644 inches wide, with the iGaging coming in at 0.7955. Now, this probably doesn't matter that much, but what I do like about the Starrett is because it's smaller, it can fit into 3/4 inch dados and holes. So I personally like the smaller blade quite a bit. I don't see a huge advantage to a larger blade, so I'm going to give this one to Starrett.
2.
Now let's have a look at the knobs. The Starrett has much deeper grooves and it has a cutaway in the middle, so I'm able to get a lot better purchase on the knurled knob than I am with the iGaging. I think this is just a better design and it feels nicer, and I'm going to give this one to Starrett.
2. 3.
Next, I want to talk about how the blades slide in the handles. The Starrett is made out of a hardened steel, and so it slides a lot easier than the iGaging does. I don't know if it's just the softness of it or what exactly. It does not slide near as easily, and sometimes will catch and chatter as I'm sliding it along, whereas that never happens with the Starrett.
2. 4.
Let's talk about packaging. The Starrett came in a little plastic bag inside of a cardboard box. That's it. The iGaging, on the other hand, I bought with a 6-inch square, and it came inside of a plastic case that has some foam inside of it. I really like that, and I've kept that open in a drawer where I've been using it for the past couple of months. I'm going to give this one to iGaging.
3, 4.
Now here's the big one. Are they actually square? If they're not square, the rest of the things don't really matter. What we're going to do is draw one line with the handle on the left, flip over the gauge, and then on that same edge, but the handle on the right, we're going to draw a parallel line and see if those lines diverge, converge, or are parallel. That will tell us if they're square. To get an even more accurate look, we can use a blade instead of a pencil. The pencil thickness is pretty big, but by using a blade on that piece of wood itself, we can make very, very fine marks. We're going to do the same thing that we did before, make 2 marks, both for the Starrett and for the iGaging, and take a look at them. You can see from this that the Starrett is perfectly parallel, just like before, or at least as parallel as my eye can see, while the iGaging again has that slight divergence. I think that the iGaging is good enough for woodworking, but again, it's not as square as the Starrett appears to be. These aren't the only tests that I did. I actually did the pencil tests over 20 times for both of them, as well as the blade test about 5 times, and I got really consistent results with the Starrett being as accurate as I could see, or as square as I could see, while the iGaging always having that slight divergence. Of course, it didn't have near the divergence that my first square, which was this Craftsman 12-inch, had. That thing was terrible, and I used it for like 5 years before I noticed how bad it was.
3, 5. You win.
So in conclusion, I'm actually going to keep both the iGaging and the Starrett. The plan was originally for me to return one of them. I like them both, and I've kept them long enough that I'm past the return window, so that's a good sign, I guess. I'm happy to have both of them, and I think that you should choose not based on an overall score, but based on your, first off, price, what can you afford, and also what is it that you want. I think the iGaging is perfectly good for a woodworker. I really like having the Starrett, though, to also have a true reference square. If there are other squares that you guys have used that you really like or have had problems, leave a comment down below so that other people can see what's worked for you. There's a lot more than just 2 brands, and there's a whole lot of different price points, so it's useful to see what other people have had experience with. Also, I have some affiliate links down below if you want to buy any of these squares. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it really helps out the channel. If you want to see other reviews like this, or my other project videos, hit that subscribe button. I also appreciate a like. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.